of year when we can remember the greatest gift of all that God gave us by sending his son, Jesus. I want to read to you from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and it's from the story in Luke 2. It says that same night, in amongst the other stars, suddenly a bright new star appeared. Of all the stars in the dark vaulted heavens, this one shone clearer. It blazed in the night and made the other stars look pale beside it. God put it there when his baby son was born to be like a spotlight shining on him, lighting up the darkness, showing people the way to him. You see, God was like a new daddy. He couldn't keep the good news to himself. He had been waiting all these long years for this moment, and now he wanted to tell everyone. I bet God was so excited. Let's sing together now. We're going to sing, O come, Emmanuel, as we invite Jesus into all we think about and do this season.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appears.
Let's sing rejoice.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
You can do a free dance.
Oh, come thou day spring, come and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and as dark shadows put to flight.
Let's sing rejoice.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
Let's sing rejoice.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appears.
Let's sing rejoice.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
Let's sing rejoice.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
You can do a free dance.
Rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
One more time.
Rejoice,
happen and all that Jesus has in store for us this year. There's so much joy in thinking about what God has for us. And joy isn't always something we feel, but it is something that we can choose. Did you know that you can choose joy? It's amazing how much our attitude can change things, even deep within us. No matter what our week has been like, I invite you today, right here, right now, to put joy on display in your life. Can you do that with me? It's going to be a game changer for your day. I promise, for you to choose joy. And Jesus was born for us, and that's an amazing gift that we can be so thankful and rejoice in. Let's sing one more song together now.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare Him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy, repeat, repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, 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 joy. Repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, 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 joy.
Oh, that was so fun to celebrate with you. Would you pray with us? And God, thank you so much that you help us choose joy, even if we don't know what our circumstances are. Just like you helped Mary have a deep sense of joy, even when she didn't know what was going to happen. And even when she was carrying a baby, she didn't even know she was going to carry, that she was going to carry the Son of God, that she was going to carry Jesus. And God, even in your plan, you gave her a sense of really deep joy. And God, we ask that you would fill our hearts with joy this Christmas season too, as we celebrate and trust in your amazing plans for us. And all of God's children said, Amen. Well, we've had so much fun with you, and we can't wait to see you next time. Bye.
Hey Okids, it's Pastor Cozy. For those of you who were able to come to the Okids Family Jubilation Christmas celebration, I had so much fun with you. It was so special to be able to celebrate Jesus and the hope and love and joy that he brings. Another really cool thing that I got to see was how generous you were. We had 30 ornaments on trees, and on every ornament there was a name. And that name represented someone who we could give a gift to, someone who during our Christmas season is going through a hard time, and we have the opportunity to be generous and bring them joy by giving them a gift. And all the ornaments were taken. It was so awesome. If your family wants to practice generosity and you weren't at the jubilation and chose an ornament, on our website at oceanhills.org, there are lots of ways that you can be generous to the people in our community who are going through a hard time this Christmas. So we are going to hear about the next part in God's story, and then I'll see you after for the reflection activity. All right, see you guys then.
Zonderkids presents the Jesus Storybook Bible. Every story whispers his name. Written by Sally Lloyd-Jones and read by David Suchet. God's Messenger. God had a job for Jonah. But Jonah didn't want it. Go to Nineveh, God said, and tell your worst enemies that I love them. No, said Jonah. Those are bad people doing bad things. Exactly, said God. They have run far away from me, but I can't stop loving them. I will give them a new start. I will forgive them. No, said Jonah. They don't deserve it. I'll run away, Jonah said to himself. Far away, so far away that God won't be able to find me. Then I won't have to do what God says. It's a good plan, he said, because as far as he knew, it was a good plan. But of course it wasn't a good plan at all. It was a silly plan. Because you can run away from God, but he will always come and find you. Jonah went ahead with his not very good plan. 1 ticket to not Nineveh, please, he said, and boarded a boat sailing in the very opposite direction of Nineveh. Well, it wasn't long before a fierce wind blew and the boat started to lurch and pitch and roll, and everyone started turning green. Jonah sat bolt upright in his bed. You see, the first thing that went wrong with Jonah's not very good plan was that God sent a big storm after him. The sailors couldn't sail their ship properly. We're sinking, they screamed, and started throwing everything overboard, suitcases, food, whatever they could find. And by now Jonah knew that the storm was his fault. Throw me in instead, he shouted to the sailors, and the storm will stop. The sailors weren't sure. It's the only way you can be saved, Jonah cried. And so, 1, 2, 3, splash! No sooner had Jonah hit the water than the waves grew calm, the wind died down, and the storm stopped. Just then, when Jonah thought it was all over, when he was sure he was going to drown, God sent a big fish to rescue him. The fish swallowed Jonah whole with one big gulp. Jonah must have thought he'd died. It was so dark in there, like a tomb. But then he smelled the rotting food and felt the slimy seaweed and knew he wasn't dead. He was in the belly of the fish. Sitting there in the darkness for 3 whole days, Jonah had plenty of time to think. Pretty soon he realized his plan was, well, a very silly plan indeed. He was sorry for running away. He prayed to God from inside the great fish and asked God to forgive him. After 3 days, the fish spat Jonah safely out onto a sandy beach. Just then, Jonah heard someone calling his name. Go to Nineveh, God said. And this time Jonah said, yes. He went straight to Nineveh and told everyone God's wonderful message. Even though you've run far from God, he can't stop loving you, Jonah told them. Run to him so he can forgive you. The people of Nineveh listened to Jonah, and they started loving God. They learned to do what God said and to stop running away from him, just like Jonah. Many years later, God was going to send another messenger with the same wonderful message. Like Jonah, he would spend 3 days in utter darkness. But this messenger would be God's own Son. He would be called the Word because he himself would be God's message translated into our own language. Everything God wanted to say to the whole world in a person.
In today's story, we heard about Jonah and how God asked him to be a messenger. One of the things that I love about God's story is it all points to Jesus. Even a story about Jonah and the fish or the whale, whatever you want to say. And we see that at the end of this story. I'll read you the last part. Many years later, God was going to send another messenger with the same wonderful message. Like Jonah, he would spend 3 days in utter darkness. But this messenger would be God's own Son. He would be called the Word because he himself would be God's message translated into our own language. Everything God wanted to say to the whole world in a person. During Christmas, we celebrate this special messenger, Jesus. So today we are going to have a little craft to remind us that this is the messenger that God is talking about at the end of the story of Jonah. So what you're going to do is we have given you some watercolors, and you're going to watercolor your ornament. Then you'll cut it out and make a little hole and use the string for a little ornament hanger. And then you can remember that Jesus is the messenger that Jonah was talking about. We also have a coloring sheet for the story and some questions here that you can talk to your mom and dad about. All right, friends, I hope you enjoy this. It's time for the raffle. All right, the raffle winner for this week is Mateo. All right, Mr. Mateo, if you are watching this, have your mom or dad text me, hey, Mateo saw the video and he saw that he won the raffle, and I will send you your prize. All right, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
But you are